Horses are they're essential parts of the economy to almost all non-industrialized economies.
They're the transportation, they're the crop carrier. A lot of the communities where we work, they're carrying the milk or they're carrying the water from the well. Honduras, it's the firewood.
They're owned by people who themselves have extremely difficult lives and who themselves are going to work way too early in life and working way too hard. People are living literally day to day to day, and there's no slack built into the system whatsoever.
Buenos días.
Buenos días. ¿Cómo está?
They do what they can, and so their animals survive the same way they do.
Access is really hard. People are in the middle of 15,000 feet on a trail with their mules, and there's no vet who's going to get up there in time to help them if they have an emergency. So people are pretty self-reliant. They're used to just problem solving for themselves, for better, for worse.
191. Okay.
The people really need to be helped because they want to be helped.
All right.
This part of Cusco is called the Anta province, and the town where we're at right now is Mollepata. And this is the halfway route to get to Soraipampa, or La Pampa de Soray, which is an esplanade right below the huge perennial snow peak, Mount Salcantay.
It's pretty spectacular. There's a huge glacier. There are mountain lakes right up nearby. There's a lot of tourism in the region because of the ruins. The mules are running up and down the mountain.
Anteriormente nosotros trabajábamos lo que es la agricultura, en cultivo de papa, yuco y otros, ¿no? Pero ahora últimamente nos están predicando más al turismo.
There's a huge tourist industry there of people who want to hike, but they don't want to carry their stuff. So the animals carry their stuff, and they're good at it.
Sí, el turismo, como todos muy bien saben, es un beneficio, ¿no? Que trae la economía, ¿no? Para cualquier pueblo.
Well, it's a tough life for these horses, and they don't really have any routine care.
It's estimated there's over 100 million working equids in the world, of which 650 million people are economically reliant on. These animals, working animals specifically, receive approximately 1% of the world's veterinary care. The value of these animals really can't be overstated. Owning a working equid can be the difference for a family being able to access medical care or a child being able to access education.
There's a direct correlation between the welfare of working horses and the welfare of the people who work with them and own them.
The veterinarians in the world are treating our pets and our sport horses. They're not necessarily in the most rural and often impoverished areas treating the animals that are actually making a lot of the world economy go round.
An equitarian is a person, by definition, whose only concern is the health and welfare and medical needs of these animals that were put before us. Horses, donkeys, and mules. So they're all equids, and they all work, and that's our basic patient.
We got together in 2008 for coffee with like-minded veterinarians, and from that came the first opportunity to really organize ourselves and speak to our colleagues.
So we brought them all together in a room in one of our conventions, and all of a sudden there were 110, 120 people in the room saying, yeah, I want to do this, or I have done it, or I do it.
We filled up the room, people were sitting on the edges, so clearly it inspired interest amongst our colleagues. I think we had enough veterinarians that were interested in volunteerism that momentum was building, and it was time.
I think most veterinarians are really empathetic, really compassionate people. They just really care about the animal health and welfare, and whatever we could do, I think you'd be hard-pressed to find a veterinarian who wouldn't volunteer their time in something like that.
Our goal is to, very simple, is to elevate the quality of life for these working equids, and in turn the spin-off is for the families.
These animals are everything for these communities. And if we're affecting the livelihoods of the horses, it's a whole snowball effect just from the horse and caring for it. And we're not doing anything miraculous, you know, it's just basic health care.
We've started off mainly in Latin America, Central America. I'm going to Morocco now all the time. We have colleagues working in India and Egypt, Ethiopia, Africa. You know, it's spreading.
You know, you have to have a certain amount of adventure, some spirit to even tackle any of these, you know, far-flung communities. You can't be super fastidious. You know, you're going to go camp. You're going to survive on whatever food you can have available. That can't bother you. That's fun for me. We try to take with us as much equipment as we can. We're limited. The transportation costs are high. How many people can we bring? And how much can we carry? You know, we can't bring everything with us. But you're still just trying to MacGyver the situation as needed with whatever tools you have at your disposal.
At home, I don't really lack for anything. I'm extremely well equipped, and I work for people who have money to pay me to do what I do with high-tech stuff. And if I run into something I can't handle, there's a referral institution 45 minutes down the road that I can send them to, or they can do MRIs. And you know, it's a whole different context than being out in the middle of the jungle in Guatemala and working out of a cardboard box.
If you use your basic medical skills and basic equipment, you can do a wonderful job on your own with your two hands and your brain and a minimal amount of equipment. And that's really important. Once you do it, you say, wow, this enhances your other stuff too. I mean, it makes you a better veterinarian on that end. But it gets you back to the basics of real medicine.
What we're doing is trying to take all of these action packers and making sure that we have what needs to be there in there, rather than all spread apart.
I'm organizing the needles in sizes because we have like a bunch of those. And it's really hard for us, like when we're working, like start looking for, like I need a 21 gauge. So, I need a 21.
That's what we sound like?
Yeah, exactly like that.
Our voice gets really high.
I need.
Kind of reminded me of being in vet school and enjoying the original aspect of what drew me to veterinary medicine to begin with. And was like, yeah, this is why I like what I do.
It's our way into a deeper purpose.
This trip was recently taken over by the EI, but it's been going to the community for about 10 years. We still have the same Peruvian partners. We're expanding to work with different Peruvian partners in addition to the ones that we have.
I'm on the Equines Commission of the Vida Digna, an animal welfare organization based in Lima. So through some friends, I reached the people at Mountain Lodges of Peru. And this program of helping the horses improve fit very well with what their NGO Yanapana does, because it's the social responsibility part of Mountain Lodges of Peru.
Yanapana Perú nació conjuntamente con Montan Lodges Perú. En el momento, hace más o menos 11, 12 años, Inés, ¿no? 12 años. Que Montan Lodge empezó a operar en la ruta Salcantay primero, Ese mismo día que nació Montanos, nació Yanapana, Perú.
So we use the station model. They come in, they get registered, they get numbered, so they're identified, which establishes the order they're going to be in. So then they go to a station and get a physical examination.
Here we do a whole examination, and also we do vaccinations of rabies and tetanus. So here we will know if they need to go to another station.
So this is a case that came from the intake. It was referred for extraction.
So this horse had a puncture wound of some kind.
That's a bad wound right there. So we're going to clean it up very nicely, and we're going to put a product like a menthol type of product to keep them away.
A lot of the folks who live much higher at altitude or who are running up and down the trail will catch us. They'll try and plan it so they'll be able to catch our day. It's some pretty far distances. I remember this one man who I love who comes every year. He walked 48 hours. Like he walked and he took a break, and then it was 2 days to get there.
This shoe is much too small for this foot, and they don't have any other shoes. And I cannot blame them because they have no education about these things.
You know, we're veterinarians, right? We love animals. So whenever you see an animal that looks to you like it needs care, you want to go help. But when you want to go help, what does your help look like? Is it that you go with all of your fancy equipment and your people, and you go in and you do it, and you leave, and you feel good when you do that? But what have you done to do something more sustainable than just going, like parachuting in and doing something once and leaving?
You cannot expect that coming once a year, you change things. You cannot, you know. That's a naive perspective.
We do want to treat these animals to ultimately improve the lives, but looking at the bigger picture, how do we do it? Is it going in and vaccinating 950 animals? Not really. That's great. That's going to help that individual animal, but the most obvious path towards it is through education of the local community.
My profession. I am a farrier. I work for the last 40 years shoeing horses, like maybe many of you. But in our country, we have education for the farriers.
Well, I think ultimately the goal is to have some form of sustainment where we can train and teach the local people in each individual community kind of the basic standards of healthcare.
If you want to work on this, you have to know how it works inside. This is very important.
What you have to realize is that when you're there, you can't do everything. You can't save everything. You can't treat everything. You know, you may be lucky enough to be there when a particular animal has an acute problem, but you got to remember that you're leaving on Sunday, and on Monday there's going to be that same case that happens to somebody else.
We have to shape them.
The idea is to be able to establish these relationships, train some people in the community to have a little better knowledge than they had before we were there, so that maybe when that same situation arises and we're not there, there's something they can do.
Si el animal presenta síntomas de cólico, no permita que coman nada. Solo caminando para que bote los gases.
I am not here to shoe their horses. I am here to teach them.
We have to be really careful that, you know, ways of doing things are shared in a respectful fashion.
We cannot come and try to impose on them. This is what we do, and this is how you have to do it. We cannot do that.
If you do that, the first thing you're going to do is close the doors. And that's it. When the doors are closed, there's no chance you can make a change. Sharing experience, sharing knowledge, that should be the base of all this.
I think it's also really important to go in and look at a community and find what their assets are, what are they doing well, and support those things, and then find what their needs are, and then really try to have an impact there. And it's going to be different in every community.
I think the biggest struggle is that we don't necessarily see the whole picture, right? We don't always know what the right solution is because we don't live it every day. Really doing a good job of educating people comes down to engaging with them first, so asking a lot of questions.
There's so many things we can learn with these people. You know, they are the ones who are keeping horses and mules in these conditions. So how should I come here and tell something about how they should feed their animals if I don't even know the local plants? Probably the next step is to go with them, try to understand what is the problem, and show them how to solve the problem. The local solutions are always the best ones.
If I put these shoes on, look, the heel will not be covered.
Tiene que llegar hasta acá.
Sí.
Yeah.
Anda, compra otro. Compra. Va, compra otro.
He will go to buy another one.
Yes. Sí. This is the right way to do it.
For us, it's rewarding to be able to come back to the communities, and oftentimes the same horsemen will come back and bring you the same horses and tell you that it made a difference, and that means a lot.
We've seen husbandry practices change for the better, and we've seen body condition scores improve. We've seen the average age of horses grow longer as they are healthier and living longer. It's pretty evident that things are getting better.
One of the things that I felt compelled to contribute with was a children's educational program. They are often the owners and sole caretakers of the animals. Sometimes they had more to say about individual animals' preferences than maybe their dads or moms or grandparents did, because they knew the animals, they worked with them every day.
Los niños son muy importantes porque están viendo cómo desde pequeños tienen que sentir amor y cariño hacia sus animales.
You know, there's a lot of pride in some of these cultures we work in about how they can handle horses and how they can ride their horses. And that's really fun to hear what their animals mean for them. At the second workshop, I brought coloring books in tow that I had kids who designed and made these coloring books, and I just got to hand them out, essentially, teaching kids about equine welfare and equine care.
If we somehow get to those kids and we teach them how to treat a horse and how to train a horse, those kids are going to be rock stars. If you think about it, if you do it now, in 18 years, you could change a whole culture. So that's one thing that I think would be a ridiculous impact.
That's on one side. On the other side, this year there was a local university, local students being involved in this.
Treating the animals is obviously important, but the emphasis now is on the veterinary student. I mean, no matter how many horses or mules or donkeys I do dentistry on, it's not really going to change things a whole lot. But if I can teach veterinary students down there to do it properly, that changes things.
Porque este contacta con este, pero estos no. Vale. Solo por darle. I had the chance to work with 3 or 4 students so far, and all of them were really great. You know, really. You don't see a student being sit and wait for the next case. If there's nothing to do here, they go to city surgery or to the intake, which is great. They want to learn.
Ahora que le hemos sacado el diente.
Nos enseñan pacientemente, ellos nos explican cosa por cosa, nos van preguntando, nos hacen discusiones, y la verdad es que, bueno, personalmente yo y también creo que mis compañeros hemos aprendido mucho.
Ponte la linterna. Quítate la gorra, ponte la linterna.
Training the students to be the vets of tomorrow that can be here, making a living and attending these animals. You know, in an ideal world, the Equitarian Initiative was not necessary because there was a local vet attending all these animals and making a living.
My dream would be that I just come to a place like this to help them with tough cases, and they have everything else handled.
You're training a bunch of veterinarians and veterinary students that you hope can then go out and make a livelihood from their work. But if people are used to getting free care, are they ever going to pay a veterinarian?
This is a big area of discussion in any nonprofit work, is how do you develop an economy around what if you're giving it away for free, it has no value. And so the Peru project, for instance, there is a charge that's made. It's a very nominal fee, amounts to about $2, which doesn't even cover the cost of the syringe for the vaccinations, basically.
You know, it's very important to understand the whole picture and not try to take easy solutions. You change things, involving the local stakeholders, making them understand how things can be different, working in a kind of positive discrimination. Look, this guy, he has excellent mules, excellent harness, and the tourists prefer these guys. And so the neighbor will say, wait a moment, I'm not looking properly after my animals and I'm not winning that money, so I'll follow the example.
I think this can go a long way in many directions. I think we can create a mechanism, a model, where many other groups, led by veterinarians in all likelihood, can go out and do this kind of project that can become its own growth center.
This is a massive, massive, wide-scale challenge. The problems differ across the globe, and our approach has to be as unique as the circumstances that exist from country to country.
There are something like 125 million working horses in the world, and what we've done so far is a drop in the bucket.
There's never going to be an end to the need of work that we're doing, and getting people to understand the importance of it, and see the importance is, certainly our biggest challenge. I see the need, I understand the importance of it to me, and find myself trying to sway people to my way of thinking on that.
Not easy.
No, it's not, but it's easy to try if you believe in it.
Even though each trip you might not feel like you saved the world, you might start to feel like at least you're doing your part.
I'm actually making a difference, a big difference, a huge difference, and that's pretty powerful.
Congregation